Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin. Long time no see. So what I'm going to be doing today? Well, for shits and giggles, I watch a lot of conspiracy stuff. And as far as the UFO stuff, I keep on hearing this name, Bob Lazar, Bob Lazar. Apparently this guy is a big name in that community. So I finally watched his infamous video, which apparently made him famous, where he explains the science of what he calls the sports model UFO craft. Now, linked below, you can watch the video yourself. It's about 41 minutes, and about 10 minutes. It's it's a fairly generic, okay accuracy for maybe high school physics of what's going on. But then he finally gets to the meat of it. And he begins by saying A gravity and B gravity, and trying to describe the function of how it actually flies. A gravity and B gravity? I don't remember that. And so he clears this up, of course. It's the strong force. Yeah, E gravity is the strong force. That makes me suspicious of why he's suddenly renaming a force, the strong force, into another form of gravity. It's not. And another problem with it is, of course, now that he's renamed it as gravity, he can turn around and say, well, Einstein's theory of spatial distortion applies. Which is, he implied, since he did talk about general theories of the general and special theory of relativity. But there's nothing in this case. So far as we know, the strong force does nothing as far as relativity is concerned. So there's strike one. Strike two is that he says that element 115 would be a very stable element and would not decay until it's, well, we'll get to that. But he bases this on the fact that element 109 is more stable than 108. Maybe some isotopes, but the longest lived 108 isotope lives for 12 minutes. And the longest lived 109 is about 2 minutes. So no. So his assumption that our general theories about the supposed island of stability is not correct, Bob. So that's number two. So we get to element 115, and that's not stable either. We only have 4 known isotopes of element of 115, and the longest lived only lasts for about 20 milliseconds. A very infinitesimal time. So we have yet to have any element within that range of 114 to 115, within that area. They're all not very stable elements. They all seem to still decay very fast. And so he begins describing the main theory of the element. Well, before I get to that, he also talks about the gray gravity wave extending out beyond the nucleus of element 115. No. As far as we know, the strong nuclear force is not a wave. That's another problem. It's not a wave. It's completely defined by particle interactions and exchanging the quanta via that way. And so, even if it somehow extended, he never really got in how you could amplify the strong force and then use that to bend space in order to warp it. Again, neither of those claims have ever been validated at all. nor even appear that they could be used in that manner. Only gravity. And not B gravity, gravity. So, we only know gravity can only just store space-time. And strong force doesn't do it, so sorry. And now we're getting to the element 115 and its construction. So you'll have your element source here, and it's going to be in a dome. And of course it's going to be capped off and contained here, and there's going to be a cone, and the element is going to be exposed by a proton beam. And it generally, he makes it look like this. He may actually drew it better than I did, but generally, you're having a proton beam coming up a metal tube, no, and then hitting element 115 and turning it to element 116. Now, for one thing, in a metal tube, you're not going to be able to bend that beam of protons, and it's going to be hitting all in that tube and then doing whatever it does in that tube. So already he's getting real bad, and I mean, this is a guy supposedly a physicist, so he knows that protons like to travel straight when you accelerate them. It's a little thing we call the laws of motion. Even at these subatomic levels, it still applies. And if you want to bend them, the people at the Large Hadron Collider found out that protons give off X-rays as you bend them, as you bend that path around the accelerator. And that's why it needs a high maintenance thing, because it's constantly affected by X-rays. And then he says, okay, you hit it here, and it goes, the energy goes down that way, and the energy is, of course, antimatter. And it hits according to him, a perfect thermal conductor, or thermoelectric generator. But that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's going to produce lots of heat, but that thermoelectric generator is going to be trashed by gamma rays, because that's what happens when you smash matter and antimatter. That's the energy that comes out, is gamma rays. So we got lots and lots of gamma rays coming out, and the problem is it won't even make it to that thermoconductor, because now if you can somehow get a proton up here, if you could, and it somehow breaks down to element 116, it's just going to go everywhere. Magnetic containment is very, very hard to achieve with antimatter. So you got to somehow not have that antimatter go only in one direction and somehow miss all the other element 115 fuel sources, the element 115 atoms that are still left unaffected, and still go in that one direction. Not going to be very easy. And then there's about 116. We actually know about that one too. Yes, it does decay, and it does decay very fast. But we don't have any evidence that it decays into antimatter. Yeah, so not only Bob Lazar is saying that the strong force somehow manipulates the space-time field and uses that to be as a means of faster-than-light travel, but also you're using the same material to manipulate gravity to be your power source. It's going to be a very rare element, and everything that we know about it, and yes, we can produce it and take a look at all its properties, but it doesn't last them 20 milliseconds. I think we can be very assured that everything that Bob Lazar talks about is out of his ass. If they hired this guy to look at UFOs, and this is what he theorizes to be as a possible means of propulsion and energy, I say he's full of shit. So that will be it. So Bob Lazar, not very impressive in the UFO community. This is why people don't take the UFO community seriously, because when you actually when they finally talk about whatever they want to talk about, in this case this was the science, the other cases it could be why the photos are so bad, or why the aliens do what they do, you kind of smell bullshit. And yeah, this is not very impressive. So Bob Lazar, hey guys, if there's a real Area 51, hey, I may not have a science degree, but your boy, Bob Lazar, not very good at science. And I could see through all the bullshit, so maybe you want to hire me. But yeah, Nassim Harim, you're next, friend.